Hello and welcome to this video. This video is going to be so important to you, especially if you are a Starling user within QuickBooks Online, because we're going to talk about how the connection to Starling just got so much better and eliminated one of our biggest issues we have with the world of Starling. Join me for this video, and if you know anyone who uses Starling or use Starling yourself, this one is not to be missed. Hello, my name is Aaron Patrick. I am a chartered accountant, a certified UK trainer with fancy new logo, that QuickBooks chap on the internet, head of accounts here at Bopping, and also your friendly podcaster who goes live every single 8:30 on Monday morning for Ask the Accountant. Now, in today's video, we're going to be talking about how this connection to Starling within QuickBooks Online has just got so much better, and how better to talk about it than actually show you exactly why we think this is an amazing update, which eliminates one of the biggest problems we've had with Starling. Now, first of all, what was that problem? Now, it all went around the wonderful world of spaces. For those who don't know, within Starling, you have the opportunity to create what's called a space. And in concept, spaces are amazing. They're the ability for you to be able to quickly, at any point, be able to create this space, or think of it like another account, and you can move money from your main account to a space. And what we were encouraging clients to do is to put as much spaces together to keep on top of all your financial commitments. And there was options to automate this as well. And if you think about it, think how powerful that can be. You would have the opportunity to be able to make sure that you were always putting money away for the VAT man, always putting money away for the tax man, always putting money away to be able to pay for like a new piece of equipment you're trying to get. Or if you've got money where you've been paid up front to do something, then you could put that to one side, and then you'll always have that budget around ready for when you need to start making payments. So for event organisers and things like that, this was an absolute brilliant solution. Problem was, from a bookkeeping point of view, it's given us a lot of headaches. You see, the problem with spaces is that although they feel like other and separate bank accounts, one of the strengths of them was they wasn't a separate bank account. So you weren't having to worry about your credit checks and having to set up new bank accounts and all that sort of rigmarole. What it was within your main account, Starling was being really clever and would start segmenting your bank account into different pots, different spaces. And that was brilliant, because what that meant was that instead of having to generate all these different bank accounts and affect your banking and having all these complications, you were just being able to put that money into it and it was just segmenting that amount. The problem was, especially within QuickBooks, is when you connected the bank account to it, it was seeing those individual transactions. So if I move money from, say, my main account into a spaces called VAT, then in QuickBooks we'll see this transaction saying VAT. And really, from my point of view, I had to be savvy about it. I had to call my spaces a space. If I was calling it spaces VAT, I wouldn't have much of a problem, but I still have a problem. And I've done a whole video on this, by the way. If you want to go and look back, I've done a video on exactly how to solve this problem. But ultimately, what the problem is when you see the word VAT, you could be correctly mistaken for thinking you're paying HMRC for your VAT bill, when in fact you're not. You're moving the money from your main account to the VAT space. And that's where it becomes really complicated. And what made it even worse was that Starling allows you to make payments from those spaces, which means that QuickBooks never knew that these spaces happen. And it was just becoming a major mess, but not now. QuickBooks and Starling have come together and they've created a whole new way to solve this problem. That's what we're going to look at now. So join me as we go and have a look exactly how to tackle those spaces problems. All right then, so first of all, let's figure out what the new update is. So if I went to the banking area and I went to link a new account and I typed the word Starling in, you'll notice I now have two different options, Starling Bank and Starling Bank without spaces. So, QuickBooks has been quite clever here, and they've given us now two options to deal with this. We can have our traditional method where you can connect the bank from Starling and it will show you every little adjustment that's happened within the world of spaces, but it won't give you a breakdown of those spaces. Again, highly recommend you go look at my other video where I talk about all the problems that Starling has, and I do have a nice little hack to get around it. The problem with my hack, though, is that it's actually really difficult to justify what's in those spaces without getting a screenshot or using a third party like Analytics. It's really difficult. But at least you were given the breakdown of what's happening in that spaces. And ultimately, let's say that in your Starling account at the moment, you've utilised those spaces really well and you're just left with, say, a really small float, like £1,000, for example. And that float is sat there as basically how much money you've got left over for day-to-day business running. Well, that's a really great way to run your business. And in QuickBooks, in that first one where it says Starling Bank, that's what the balance will come through at, as £1,000 or whatever the amount is shown as left in your main bank account when all the spaces have been dealt with. And this was really useful because that gave you a really good sense of how much money was left over. The second option though, Starling Bank without spaces, well, that takes it to the next level. And basically it goes, well, let's just ignore the spaces completely. Let's just pretend spaces do not exist. And imagine that you had £1,000 in your bank account, £9,000 in your VAT savings account, and £10,000 in your other tax account. Then basically the Starling Bank without spaces won't say £1,000 in your bank account, will say the full £20,000 by the time you've added all those spaces together. And that's important, right? Because that's a really clever way of just getting over that initial issue. Because if we just completely ignore the spaces, then all we've got left over are transactions that actually leave the bank account. So instead of VAT appearing because you're moving to the VAT space, then those sort of transactions won't exist. So how do I use Starling Bank without spaces? Dead straightforward. Literally, we click on here and we just connect it as normal. Now, Starling's a little bit strange in terms of it'll only let you have one connection anyway. So if you've already got your bank connected, you're only going to be able to have a choice between one or the other. And if you've already used the previous one and you're having problems with all these spaces and it's starting to give you a lot of issues, highly recommend that you just connect this new connection going up. Just be really careful about making sure that you're moving from one to the other. Make sure you've reconciled up until a certain date and then only add in the transactions to that particular date. It's going to be a bit messy, but if you just take your time on it, go forward, you're going to be absolutely fine. But you're better off though, if you're having problems with the spaces, to move to this new connection. I've been using the new connection for a bit of time and it's working really well. There's no complications here and everything else. It's just a little bit of a shame though that we're losing all the functionality that Spaces kind of brought. I know QuickBooks are working for a potential solution for that one, but I think for the vast majority of people out there, this new with Spaces one will be more than enough. So make sure that you go in, and when you go to add that Starling, I would be looking to add the Starling Bank without spaces. To make sure that you understand exactly which bank account you've gone for, then when I look at the link account up here, click on the little button and I go to manage connections just here, then this will tell you what type of bank account you've done. So here I've got Starling Bank without spaces is going to be connected with there. And that's going to give you an indication to know which one's been connected, because this one here tells you exactly what account's been connected at each time, and it will tell you the Starling Bank without. That's telling you that this one's been created without spaces going forward. And if it hadn't said that, it will just say Starling Bank just like that. So you're going to be able to understand which connection's there and work with it accordingly. And this is a good example of what's happened here. Here's a bank balance here, and that's all the money within this bank with everything in there, with all of the spaces put together. When realistically, if I'd have connected this Starling with spaces, then we would have only had around about £500 or whatever the amount of cash float that was there originally. So this is the big difference going forward. We now get to see all of the transactions in there. And as I go through the transactions, and if I saw through them, I won't see any of those movements, any of those spaces at all, just making it really super simple for me. So what's our overall thoughts on this? Well, overall, I think vast majority of people out there are going to want Starling without spaces as a connection going forward. If you've already connected before this date, chances are you've used the standard Starling bank account, and you probably want to look at migrating over to the new connection. You can only have one connection, so it's not like you're going to accidentally put both in or anything like that. You just need to be making sure you move over to it. If you do already have a connection though, it's really easy to unconnect it. If you go to this screen here, you can go in and you can manage the consent and turn that off if need to. and disconnect it from here. If you are going to be moving from the old connection to this one, you might want to consider setting up a whole new bank account in QuickBooks, having that new chart account, just having that nice clean cut as to where you want to connect from. That's probably going to be the easiest way of doing it, just so you don't duplicate any transactions. But as I said, for the vast majority out there, I would highly recommend moving to Starling Bank without spaces, because that's going to be the connection that's going to completely make it so much easier for you, and you're going to have less issues. I also really do think that the old connection, or Starling Bank as it is now, that one should only really be used for ones where people are happy to take that more complicated approach. Probably best looking at the video that I've already done, looking at how to best handle those spaces by using your chart of accounts, using your sub accounts to really get the most out of it. You're still going to have issues. You're still going to have to use third parties to be able to verify those spaces going forward, but I do think it's going to be a lot better for you. But what do you think? Let me know in the comments below. I think this is a great update. I'm hoping that they get around to Monzo and the rest of them pretty soon, because I think then the more people we have with this extra option, the better. Just remember going forward though, Starling Bank without spaces, that's going to be your best solution. It's just going to make things easier for you going forward. My name's been Patrick. Let me know below what you think to this update, and are you excited about the next update that's coming, the one where they're going to start making those spaces even more powerful for us going forward? Let me know in the comments below. And also don't forget that this is the right place for you if you are got any questions regarding QuickBooks. This particular update only went live as of recording a couple of days ago, so we're always going to be up to date with everything to go on with QuickBooks Online. So if you are using QuickBooks in any way, make sure you like, make sure you subscribe, and you'll always be up to date yourself. My name's been Patrick. This video has been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for all your support out there, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.